Hello to the pessimistic, optimistic, and everyone in between. My name is Connor Philippine. Welcome back to the Minnesotan Sports Podcast. And second week of the season now, a few things are starting to develop in terms of what we know about these teams, but also we have to be careful because this is also the part of the season where people immediately jump to conclusions based on the first week. So we got to kind of take those things with a grain of salt, look at how we thought about these teams going into the season, and kind of factor in what we saw first week and still kind of combine those two things because week one does not tell the whole story. It's important to remember that. That being said, before we go into these predictions for week two, let's just go over some of the ones I got wrong this first week because week one's always rough in terms of predictions. I predicted the Chiefs to beat the Lions. That didn't happen. I picked the Vikings to beat the Buccaneers. That was kind of one that you would expect to get that right, but sure enough, we should know the Vikings well enough by this point, but we don't. The Bengals over the Browns, one was one that I got wrong, but everyone probably got that one wrong. And then I had a pretty good stretch. I did get my upset of the week wrong. I said the Texans would beat the Ravens for my upset pick of the week, which if you don't know, I do that every week. And I have to pick one team that's supposed to be a pretty major upset. And most of the time I get it wrong, but it's fun to see if I get one right. I didn't get the Texans over Ravens right, that's for sure. I picked the Bears over the Packers. That was a mistake. I picked the Broncos over the Raiders. That was a mistake. I picked the Chargers over the Dolphins. Got that wrong. Seahawks over Rams. I got wrong. I picked the Giants over the Cowboys. I got that wrong. And then I picked the Bills over the Jets too. So I got a lot wrong last week. So we're trying to do a little bit better this week. I'm not going to be doing the Vikings prediction in this video. I predicted it in the last video. I'm not going to break it down. However, I will say that I did predict the Eagles to win this game by a considerable margin. But if you want to see the whole prediction and the whole breakdown of that game, the full preview, make sure you check out that video. I uploaded it yesterday, and it has everything you need to know about the Vikings and Eagles game, the keys to victory, injuries, all that. So make sure you tune in for that. Going into these matchups here, Packers, Falcons, this is kind of a tough one right off the bat because the Falcons, they had a pretty decent game. I think that a lot of their success had to do with the turnovers that they got, which could end up being a big factor against the Packers as well. I didn't have the Packers very high going into the season. Jordan Love had a very impressive performance, 245 and 3 touchdowns. So these two teams are pretty evenly matched in my book. I do think that the Falcons will win this game. I don't know if that's just the inner Vikings fan in me wanting to will it into existence, but I feel like Jordan Love might struggle a little bit in this game, just kind of in his second game, come crashing down just a little bit. I don't think that that means that he's going to suck the rest of the season. I just think that, I don't know, after an impressive first game, maybe he'll have a little bit of a dip before, continuing that level of success. So I'm going to say the Falcons win this game. Raiders and Bills. Now, this is one where the Bills had a really rough first week of the season. Josh Allen, 236, and got only 1 TD and 3 interceptions. So whenever you have 3 times as many interceptions as touchdowns, you know you have a problem. Josh Allen openly himself said that he had a horrible game and that he can't let that happen continuously this season. But I do think the Bills will have a bounce back game, especially at home. These Bills fans, they are rallying behind their team no matter what, even with a rough first week of the season. And I don't think the Raiders were all that good. I think they just happened to be playing the Broncos, and they just had a rough game also. So to barely beat the Broncos by 1, I think that means the Raiders are capable of losing to the Bills for sure. So give me the Bills in that matchup. Next, we have the Ravens at the Bengals. Now, this is a game between two teams that also really struggled in week 1, except the Bengals struggled even more, losing their game to a team they should have beat. Ravens still winning their game considerably. The Texans are so bad that they made the Ravens still look impressive. But Lamar Jackson, with only 169 passing yards, still got some stuff done on his feet like he always does. But they're going to have to step it up against the Bengals at home. The Bengals, I think, are going to win this game, and I think they're going to win it because they're going into this game angry. They're going into this game angry because after 2 years of dominating the league offensively, they have a rough game where Joe Burrow somehow gets benched, and everyone's just clowning on him. And making some wildly outrageous generalizations and really jumping to conclusions about this team right off the bat, even though last year they lost to the Steelers week 1 of the season and then came roaring back in the middle of the season and end of the season. So I do think the Bengals will understand the importance of winning this game, and I think they're going to come out and really play well and win this game against the Ravens. Seahawks at Lions. This is a tough one because the Seahawks, I think, are better than what they performed against the Rams last week. The Seahawks seem like one of those teams where they just perform badly against teams that they should beat by a lot, and then they play up to their better opponents. I think that the Lions had a really impressive win against the Chiefs last week. Unfortunately for the Lions, I do think that this week will be rough for them just because that week was so huge for them going into the season. They're coming off such a high that it seemed almost like that this game was their Super Bowl at the start of the season. And I think that it might be a little bit more crashing down to earth this week for the Lions. I expect them to be in the division lead for the NFC North throughout the year, but this might be a rough one for them. So I say the Seahawks take this one. A pretty close game, but I think the Seahawks will win for that reason. Chargers at the Titans. Now, this is a bounce back game, I think, for sure for the Chargers. But at the end of the day, is it really a bounce back game? Because the Chargers still had a pretty decent game against the Dolphins. Their defense was rough, but their rushing game was incredible. And Justin Herbert, honestly, they were able to score 34 with Justin Herbert not having a very big day, honestly. So if Herbert can get going, the Chargers are going to be good. I wasn't concerned with their loss last week. I think the Dolphins were just too good for them, and they're one of the better teams in the AFC right now. So I think the Chargers will get this game done against the Titans. The Titans looked rough last week. I think they're going to look even rougher as the season goes along. Tannehill might get benched in this game. Chargers will win. We have the Bears and the Buccaneers. Now, the Buccaneers are coming off of a really impressive performance against the Vikings. The Vikings, in a way, kind of gave them that game, but also it took a lot for the Bucs to be able to rise to the occasion. And at home, I think they're going to beat the Bears here. Justin Fields had an absolutely atrocious game against the Packers week 1. They're coming in with that low energy, less momentum, whereas the Bucs coming off of a lot of momentum. And like I've been saying, I think Baker Mayfield is a very momentum-driven quarterback, and I think that once the Buccaneers have a really rough game, start losing a few, then the landslide's going to start. But right now, they're coming off of a big high, and I think that this Bucs team is going to ride that momentum to one more victory, especially at home, Raymond James Stadium, and the Bears looked rough in week 1. I think they'll continue that same level. Chiefs at Jags. This is going to be a really good game between a team that really expected to win week 1 but didn't, and a team that, even though they won week 1 in the Jaguars, they still did not perform the way they were hoping they would. They ended up winning at 31-21, but for a while in that game, it was looking scary for them. The Colts were in the driver's seat for a lot of that game. The Jags just kind of, got away with one, really, with some crazy turnovers near the end of the game. And then the Jags finally getting the job done. Lawrence had a decent game, but not that great. I think the Chiefs will win this game. I think that Lawrence and the Jags will keep it close, but Mahomes is not going to win or lose 2 games in a row to start off the season. He just won't. I can't imagine it. Next up, we have the Colts at the Texans, and this is one of those games where it feels like kind of a toss-up. Richardson honestly had a pretty decent start to his season. Not the best, but for a rookie in his very first game, not too bad. I feel like CJ Stroud could have a big game, and understanding that the Colts are a beatable team and the Texans wanting to have the first win of the season, CJ Stroud wanting to have the first win of his career, a lot on at stake for the Texans in this game, but I still think the Colts will win. I just think that Richardson is going to do a lot on his feet in this game. He rushed for 40 yards and a touchdown last game. I feel like I can't pick the Texans until they end up winning one, and who knows when that will happen in the season. Stroud could make that possible, but give me the Colts in this matchup. Next, we have the 49ers at the Rams. I don't know. I feel like Stafford had a really impressive performance, 334 yards, didn't throw for a touchdown, but still great performance against the Seahawks. But I don't know, was it the Seahawks just laying an egg, or was it the Rams just magically becoming good again after a really bad season last year? Either way, I think the 49ers win this game, to be clear. I'm not debating whether or not the Rams will win this game, but I'm just curious how the Rams are going to play against a legit team that rocked the league in week 1, has that most heavily fortified defense in the league. Will the Rams be able to keep up with the 49ers? If they get crushed, I'm going to have the same opinion that I had about the Rams to go into the season. But the Rams hang tough with the 49ers. I don't know. Maybe I'll start to change my opinion about him, especially if Stafford has another really good game. But still, either way, give me the 49ers. They are playing like the best team in the league right now. And then the Giants at the Cardinals. No matter what's going on with the Giants, first of all, Darren Waller dealing with injuries again, and it's looking like it might be another lingering thing. They're saying it might be a more of an issue with his nerves than anything else, which is great for me, drafting him in fantasy, thinking that he was going to be amazing, and also me saying that Darren Waller was going to be the reason why the Giants took the next step for their offense to start to kick off the season. I made a bold prediction that the Giants would beat out the Cowboys for the second spot in the NFC and be fifth in the NFC East. I don't know. I think I made the wrong decision there. But either way, the Giants should win against the Cardinals. I mean, with Dobbs still in there, I don't know. The Cardinals are bad. They are arguably the worst team in the league right now. And the Giants, regardless of all the issues that they're having right now, should be able to beat them. Jets at Cowboys. I feel like the Jets, coming off of a big game against the Bills, Wilson playing the whole game now against the Cowboys defense. I think that this is going to be a defensive battle, but one that the Cowboys should be able to pull away from in the second half. I think it might be close, might be kind of a 10-7, maybe 14-10 type game going into halftime, but at the end of it, I think the Jets, led by Zach Wilson, it'll just be too much. I think the Cowboys defense is too good. See how Dak Prescott plays. He threw for 143 yards, so once again, he was the thing holding the Cowboys back from an even better game last night or last Sunday. So we'll see what happens, but I still think the Cowboys will win this game. Broncos and Commanders. Now this is a tough one because Sam Howell really struggled, but also the Broncos putting up a really bad game as well. I think it's going to be another defensive battle. I'm hoping Sean Payton takes home another loss. But at home, I think the Broncos will take this one. Yes, they lost at home against the Raiders, but I didn't see too many positive things about the Commanders. On top of that, they almost lost to the Cardinals, and that's just unforgivable. So for this week anyway, I'm going to give Sean Payton and the Broncos the benefit of the doubt that they'll figure some things out and end up winning this game, although I don't want to see it like I've been saying. The Dolphins at the Patriots for Sunday night. This should actually be a pretty good game. Tua Tagovailoa coming off of a 466-yard, 3-touchdown, 1-interception performance. Tyreek Hill coming off of 215 and 2 touchdowns. That being said, Patriots defense is pretty good, so I think it'll be kind of a close game. Again, I think it'll be a one where it's close at halftime, but the Dolphins will pull away late in the game and get their second victory of the season. Finally, we have the Monday night matchups. 2 games that I think should actually be pretty good. And the first one's Saints at Panthers. It should be really fun to see Derek Carr going up against Bryce Young. Derek Carr actually having a pretty good performance, 305 yards and a touchdown with an interception. Chris Olave will be fun to watch. He's going to be primetime television this year. He's going to do great things for the Saints. And then the Panthers left a lot to be desired in their loss to the Falcons. They only scored 10 points. Bryce Young needs to show more. Obviously, he's a rookie, first game. But if the Panthers are going to make a run for the division, I feel like he needs to get going soon. And I don't expect the Panthers to win the division, but this is the game where I kind of think we're going to see that test right off the bat between 2 divisional opponents. I think the Saints will win this one, though. Their performance against the Titans wasn't necessarily inspiring. I just think that in a very winnable NFC South, the Saints are one of the favorites. The Panthers are just slightly below that mark. I'm going to go with the Saints, even though it is at home for the Panthers. But it'll be fun to see Bryce Young, his first time in prime time, should be fun. And then finally at 7:15, so it's going to be fun that these two games are going on at the same time because in previous years it was kind of like they were trying to stagger them a little bit more. But 7:15 Browns at Steelers, and this is one where yes, the Steelers lost big time to the 49ers, and that fits with my narrative that I don't think the Steelers are nearly as good as people say they are. That being said, it still was week 1 and Kenny Pickett has some opportunities for redemption. It'll be tough though against a Browns defense that was absolutely crushing the Bengals high flying offense in a game that was just rough all around for the Bengals last week. So it'll be tough for Kenny Pickett, and that's why I have the Browns winning this game. The Steelers, I just don't have faith in them. I've said it all off season. They showed it against the 49ers, didn't even get close, not even a chance for them. If they show something against the Browns and find a way to win this game, maybe I'll start changing my mind. But the Browns should get this victory against the Steelers. So there you go, week 2 of the NFL season predicted by me. Please let me know in the comments which ones you agree with and which ones you don't agree with. I always love having discussions about these things, and it's always just a lot of fun interacting with everyone on the channel. Also keep in mind, tonight I'm going to be releasing the raw reaction to the Vikings-Eagles game that will be over by about 10:30, so expect that video at 11, and it should be an interesting one because I have very low expectations for the Vikings against the Eagles, but either way, it's either going to be a really tough loss and it's going to be entertaining to watch, or it'll be a huge win for the Vikings and that'll also be entertaining to watch. So don't miss that video. If you don't know what a raw reaction is, I just flip the camera around as soon as the game's over and I give my raw, honest take without any preparation or rehearsal, and it always ends up being pretty funny. So please let me know if you like that video as well. Also, like and subscribe. I always want to build my channel any way I can. So thanks a lot again. See you next week, and I'll see you on the flip side.